as I've been introduced, I'm Shakwa Nyambe, an energy, oil and gas, and natural resources lawyer, not a human rights lawyer like my friend Corina. So my angle will be a little bit different from what Corina has presented. I'll be looking at the market factors, as well as the non-market factors which we need to consider. The non-market factors, breaking them into the legal and business considerations. So let's get started. So I got it. No, I got it. Thank you. So if you look at the market factors, Namibia has the right market factors at the moment to accelerate the oil and gas development. We have the resource availability and the reserves. You have heard earlier on this morning from the Petroleum Commissioner, from the acting MD of NAMCO, the estimated number of reserves from the two discoveries, Total Energies as well as Shell. So we have the resource availability, and then coupled with the global energy demand for oil and gas at the moment. In terms of technology, the technological know-how in terms of drilling deep water is possessed sufficiently by the oil and gas companies who are undertaking these operations. They've done this in many jurisdictions. So we are destined to propel in that area and be able to get more success. The commodity prices at the moment are very good for oil and gas. And finally, we have a stable political environment. It's a good rule of law in Namibia, democracy, transparency, and accountable institutions are there. We just need to enhance them to ensure that we accelerate the development of these precious resources. Cognizant of these market factors, we need also to consider the non-market factors, which are very important to ensure that we do this properly. And I'll start with the legal considerations, which I believe we should look at. Starting with the sovereign wealth fund, we all know that, and it has been said by the previous speakers here, that we need to ensure that this oil and gas benefits our future generation. And I'm happy that the government of the Republic of Namibia has already started this process and set up the sovereign wealth fund, which was announced in May of 2022. It's being managed by the Bank of Namibia, the central bank. We need just to ensure that this is effective and it's fit for purpose. So what we need to do to ensure that this works properly is to ensure the legal and policy framework regulating the investments, the withdrawal from these funds is put in place properly so that it's not abused, so that it can benefit the future and we can use this money to diversify the economy. And second legal consideration, almost every speaker has spoken on this. That is local content. And we already have some local content provisions in some of our legislation, like the Petroleum Exploration and Production Act, as well as the Model Petroleum Agreement. But the government is trying to expand it now, and I think later on or tomorrow, Mr. Carol McLeod will speak more on this. But what is important is to know and understand where we are and how we should go around it to ensure that we get a fit for purpose local content framework. At the moment, we are just still at policy level, which is still ongoing, and there's ongoing consultation there. However, to ensure that we put in place a right legal framework, there are some processes we can't skip. We need to ensure that we do a good industrial baseline study or an oil and gas study on the skills which we have, the skills we need the things we need to put in place which are missing. That is what will tell us what we need to put in our legal framework, the local content regulations or the law, whichever format it will come. And after that, we need to have that also put in a piece of paper, drafted. It has to go through the normal process of legislative making in Namibia to go up to the Ministry of Justice with the legal drafting being involved. So what I wanted to also plea here and caution is that let's get the people involved and the correct stakeholders. Let this not be just a baby for the Ministry of Mines and Energy. Let's get all the departments within the Ministry of Justice to be involved. They should understand from the policy discussion perspective already, so that when it reaches their tables there, they have to put this law and ensure that it goes through the relevant parliamentary standing committees. There's no delay, but if we don't get them involved now, we might delay this happening. It is a long way to go. If we have to do it properly, it's not something which will be done by tomorrow or next year. It will take some time, but we're in the right direction at the moment. So another legal consideration I've thought of is to look at the possibility of introducing the license bid rounds to ensure transparency and accountability. At the moment, Namibia uses the open licensing system. Just forget the word bidding, which is there, an error. I'll handle it later with my executive assistants. The license, the open licensing system. That's what we are using. And this, don't get me wrong, that I'm being critical of this. This is what has got us to where we are now. Because of this license opening system, we have got our discoveries. It made it easier for these oil companies to come on in the country, knock at the door of the ministry and say, we see this aggregate is available, can you give it to us? We are ready to work on it. However, we have progressed, and we have to be accountable to the people. There's a lot of demands from the people in the community. They want to know, how do they get involved to be to own some part or to be part of this process also, so that they can apply for these license blocks. So a bid round, license bid rounds is more transparent because the rules of engagements are open to everyone. The requirements are there, what you need to put in place, what you need to do. The time period within which the bid is open is there, and then when it closes, those who have qualified to the next level, they are announced. We could combine this together, the open license system, which we have already. Some aggregate, we could keep them for open, and then the others we could do bid rounds. And also, it might also work well in terms of some monetary benefits for the government. And transparency is very important, and when we see some few cases popping whereby some citizens are already complaining about the licenses which were not awarded to them, we don't need that. We need to ensure that the systems is so open that we don't crowd this growing industry with a lot of court cases which are going to tarnish a bad name to the industry. And I think another important consideration, legal consideration, is an independent upstream oil and gas regulator. This is not an invention for myself. The National Energy Policy of Namibia already has identified this. In fact, this was identified in 1998 already by the White Paper on Energy Policy. So the National Energy Policy of 2017 just re-emphasized that there's a need to set up an independent regulator. The government and the legislature are there to establish the policy, and we need another institution to administer these regulations which are coming out of these policies. And that also can play a role in ensuring more transparency, because we heard earlier on what Corona has presented. This risk is real, because even if sometimes you have done your work properly and done your proper and adequate stakeholder engagement, there are some entities which are just there to oppose the oil and gas, and some of these cases will always pop up. Some they have a good basis, some are just there to do the disruption. The example of the case in South Africa, Corina talked about it, and Namibia, I know well about that case. We were involved there on law firm to defend that matter. And the only way, or one of the ways that I am suggesting to ensure that you avoid this is to manage the stakeholders, and you must do it through effective communication. And it must be early, continuous stakeholder engagement. You must involve the lawyers and other experts to help you navigate these concerns to ensure that you don't end up in this litigation. And another legal consideration is, this is what we get from our clients in the oil and gas. Yes, the work business for the oil experts. This is a new industry. We are going to depend on experts from outside so that they can train the Namibians. We need to have these companies who have discovered the oil and gas to ensure that we can allow these people to come in easily. We don't have the right types to ensure that they can go in the fields offshore, do the work, and then so that we accelerate the appraisal and ensure that we go quickly to production. And we need to put efficient measures in place. At the moment, there are a bit of frustrations there from some of the oil companies, because it can take up to 1 month or up to 4 months to get the work visas. But we need to come up with real solutions. Look at what other countries have done, like Ghana, where they have introduced a rotator's work permit specifically for the oil and gas employees that you can get in 3 days. Just imagine, you are helping these guys to get to work. This is a big industry. You have had the projection, and according to the Wood Mackenzie Group, just these 2 discoveries by Total Energy and Shell, annually we can reap $3.5 billion. Now, you need to give attention. If such an industry is going to give you that amount of money, give it attention and make sure you have these people to easily make value out of that resources. And the last one is the ease of doing business. Let's improve on our systems. We heard what Brown said here. Let's put system in place to enable people to register the businesses as quickly as possible. The statistic is there from the World Bank. It took almost 54 days. This is statistics from 2020 to start a business in Namibia. 21 of those days is with people. And you don't want to delay. You want to start immediately. If it takes 2 days to register a business in South Africa, why should we take almost 21 days? Let's put the system in place. If we need to pay the right money for the people to put the systems, let's do that so that we can have all these experts in businesses to accelerate the oil and gas development. In that way, we are going to ensure that we improve our ranking on the ease of doing business, our competitive business, and attract investment. I think a bright future awaits us, and with transparency and accountability, this is the key for Namibia. And this industry is our responsibility for all Namibians here. Let's not leave it to the government, the private sector, and everybody. Let's do our part. And we are going to reap a lot of rewards for the country.